Good morning, Centerville Church. It's good to be worshiping with you this morning, and I'm so happy to have a whole bunch of our great Spring Valley Academy kids here to do a little sharing. You all know we got back from a mission trip just a few weeks ago to southwestern Kenya among the Maasai people, and we just had a fantastic experience. If we could boil it down to numbers, it would be 75 Spring Valley students and family members and staff traveling a long ways, about 35 hours to get to a remote part of Kenya, and then doing a week's worth of great work and seeing one of the really remarkable corners of creation. We had work teams that included 2 construction teams, 2 medical teams, a water filtration system team, a dental team. Did I get them all? And a VBS team. Our medical team served somewhere around 1,500 patients over the course of 5 days of field clinics, 500 water filter systems distributed, which makes just an unbelievable difference to that many families. About 300 students learning about Jesus in VBS, and just an incredible amount of remarkable, mighty work done by young people, mentored by just amazing adults, and the relationship that develops there. That's how it boils down to numbers, but there's no way that you could capture this experience by statistics. It was a deep spiritual experience for every single one of us that went. And the reason we've got so many students and also adults here to share is because we're just brimming with what the Lord did, and excited to be able to share it because we've been changed. When Jesus returned to his hometown of Nazareth and went to synagogue as a young adult, and he was invited to step up and read from the scriptures on the Sabbath day, he turned to Isaiah 61. And when he read it, everybody there suddenly became aware that this young man who had grown up among them was reading this as himself, his own voice speaking through this passage. Jesus, at the beginning of his ministry, was laying out his own personal mission statement that had been previewed clear back in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah 61, it says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." Jesus is reading this. "Because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and to release prisoners from darkness, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn." Isn't that an interesting phrase? His vengeance to comfort all who mourn. That somehow God is indignant about the poor. His vengeance to comfort all who mourn. And bestow on them a crown, and to provide for those who grieve in Zion. To bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord. So this is Jesus' personal mission statement where he says, I am here on this earth to bring comfort to the poor. And then his whole ministry was about that. And if you weren't the poor, the only way to be around him was to go to where the poor were, because that's where you'd find him. And I think it's still true today. I think the greatest hunger and thirst and longing of the human soul is to truly encounter our Creator, to find him somehow in a way that seems certain and true. And I have become convinced over the years that if we want to find him for ourselves, we'll find him among the poor. He said it himself. Before he ascended, he said we would find him among the poor. Whatever you do to the least of these, my brethren, you're doing it to me. That's where you'll find me until I come back. You'll find me among the poor. And so a trip like this, that's what that is. It's going to the poor and giving what we've got, and sometimes, to our surprise, meeting for the first time our Creator. amongst the poor. And I think as you hear the students testify about this, the point of all of this was to go and do good work, but the result was to encounter our Creator, to meet Him for ourselves. And that's what happened. And so you're going to hear a little bit about that. You're going to hear several testimonies and a little bit of music and a video to kind of take you there. And I'm going to be kind of directing traffic down here, but I want you to hear from the young people that got to go on this trip, and also from a few of the adults. When we think back on this trip, right now and years from now, we're going to, trips have kind of a signature thing that happened where when you think of it, you think of that. And there were lots of things that happened, but we're always going to think of a little boy, 1.5-year-old boy named Alfred. And I want you to hear the story of Alfred from, well, in the words of the musical Hamilton, from the people who were in the room. One of our medical teams, it was the team 2? Yeah, the team led by Doctors Hahn here, and some kids and other medical professionals, but a really powerful thing happened, and I want you to hear from Nicole Jenkins and Ellie Sauser. So I want to invite them up to tell the story of Alfred.
Hi, happy Sabbath. Our story took place during our 5-day work week on Thursday afternoon. So we had been working pretty hard that week, and I was working on pharmacy with my friends and with Mr. Manus. And it was right after lunch, I remember, and I started kind of walking around, seeing what was up. It was a little less busy at that moment. And so I kind of stumbled upon Mrs. Jenkins treating a little boy. And this boy was just screaming his head off. He was inconsolable. And so then you just see one little hand poke out of the wrapping that his mom's holding him in, and it's hot pink second-degree burns from his whole arm is covered in it. And you could smell the infection from feet away, and it's stuck in this position, and he's sobbing. So the mom had actually come to our clinic in search of a treat-all for the second-degree burn. She was hoping for Tylenol or antibiotics that would just cure it. But for those of you who have treated burns, it's not a cure-all.
Right.
It really has to hurt more to be able to get better. So this mom says, well, I don't want that then. And so she picks up her baby boy, her 1-year-old and 1-year-old and 5-month baby boy, picks him up, and she runs out of our clinic.
Probably about as fast as she could. And it was pretty upsetting because there was really nothing that we could do to stop her. Here in the States, we have like children's services in place that if a parent brought in a baby that ill, we would at least be able to get treatment for that baby. But at that point, when we saw her walk away, I just knew this baby was going to die without treatment. He had a fever. His burn was badly infected. Purulence was draining from his wound, so pus was draining from his arm. He was a sick boy. So it was upsetting. It was kind of hard to complete the rest of the day, although it was the end of the day. It was really hard to keep going, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
So I treated about 5 more kids and finished that, and we started packing up, and I was just visibly upset. I think we both were. It was really hard. And Dr. Joyce Hahn came to me and she said, do you want to pray? And I was upset, and I was like, okay, we can pray. But what's going to happen? What is God going to do? But boy, was I wrong. We prayed a prayer that, I can't remember all the words, but it was like, Lord, we don't know what's going to happen to this baby, but we know that you can take care of it. So please help this family to seek the treatment that baby needs to survive, because we're powerless. So that was our prayer, and we started packing up.
and we were about 2 minutes away from leaving in our Land Rovers to go on the hour ride back to our camp when
Yep.
oh so we were about 2 minutes away from driving away in our Land Rovers when the mom comes back situated. And so actually we were able to take little Alfred and his mom in our Land Rovers and drive the hour ride back to the clinic with them. And there we were able to treat, or we, Mrs. Jenkins and Dr. Hahn and Dr. Yu, they were able to treat little Alfred. And so a big word that we talked about when we were sharing this story on Thursday night was God moments. It was a God moment that the mom was impressed to come back to us. And, it was a God moment that we were there at that specific time. And what made the refusal of care so much harder is that Mrs. Jenkins is a pediatric burn specialist. So God put every right where it needed to be at the very right time. So when we get to the clinic, Alfred's still screaming his head off. And so you see from the, oh, yeah, there you go. You sort of see the medical room we're in. It wasn't sterile, but it was clean. And so he is having a rough time. So Dr. Yu, actually, she says to Noah, hey, can you sing? If not for Alfred, then for us, for comfort. And so Noah starts singing. He's singing a song in Swahili, which we were kind of learning throughout the week. And then he goes on to the next song, and he sings The Blessing. We had been singing this in our choir, our sacred repertoire, in the beginning of the year. And, sometimes learning songs can seem monotonous, like, oh, yeah, we'll do this for church, and we'll get applause, and then we'll forget it. But we didn't know what a big impact it would have. So it's, the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be grateful to you. And you just hear Noah's voice soaring through these screams of this little boy being treated. And so a few people were joining in song. And, I'm a part of a lot of musical activities, that's for sure. And no music has ever just gone straight to my heart like that has. So finally, Mrs. Jenkins is finishing up with the burn, and Noah picks, I Will Rise. We'd done this for our spring sacred repertoire. I will rise when he calls my name. No more sorrow, no more pain. It was at this moment that Mrs. Jenkins had finished treating this wound, and Alfred was not crying, not in pain, no more sorrow, for the first time since Monday. So it was great.
And even when we followed up the next day, with him, because we kept him in their little hospital, Mom said it was the first time he had really eaten, and the first time he hadn't cried all night. So it was really a miracle.
So we had talked a lot about testimonies on this trip, and we'd heard a lot of great ones. And, after something like this, it was put in perspective to me by Dr. Hahn. 25 years ago, our Morrow West camp, the African Mission Services, was established. Months ago, our locations were selected. Weeks ago, our teams were selected. And so for us to be there at that time with our pediatric burn specialist, it makes you not believe in sheer dumb luck anymore. It's a God moment. He really was watching over us, and his presence was there. His presence was there in that room that day. And so we talked about testimonies, and that's just something that you put right in there and you don't forget about it. Did I turn it off? Oh.
This one's not.
So that day, medical team number 2 was late getting back to the camp for dinner. We were all eating dinner wondering what happened to medical team 2. We didn't know that all of this was going on, but I got a text from Harvey Hahn, and he said, we're going to have something to share at worship tonight. Every night of the mission trip, we had morning and evening worship, and those evening worships were sharing time about what the Lord had done that day. And we'd had some powerful worship times. So I didn't know anything except for medical team 2 had something to share. And so we gathered around the fire that night in this remote corner of Africa as sun went down and darkness closed in. And first person to share that night was Ellie. And she told that story that you just heard. One of the most powerful testimonies I've ever heard from anybody. Lots of tears, right? And she told that story about the music, the singing, and those sacred songs that those students learn. Like Ellie said, you might kind of learn it mindlessly at the beginning of the year, but in that moment, those songs were a call to the Lord for help, right? And suddenly those songs are coming from a way deeper place, and they mean so much. And from now on, whenever we sing them, they are kind of they're kind of building a little altar saying the Lord did something powerful. And so after Ellie and Samantha Schneider shared their testimony, there was not a dry eye there. There were grown men going, man, the smoke from this fire is getting to my eyes. I asked Noah, I said, Noah, I think this feels like sacred ground right now. And would you come up and sing the blessing? And Noah said, I guess. And then Mia said, I know the girls' solo part, I'll help. And then every other choir member came up, and the kids sang the blessing for worship that night. Oh, I've never had anything speak to me like that. And so I've asked them, the ones who were in choir who were there that night, who sang that, to just kind of come and share again. There's no choir director, Miss Dory isn't here, there's no accompaniment, just like it was around the fire there, and it's just kids getting up and letting the music flow, because it wasn't a performance. It was calling on the Lord through music. And so I've asked them to come and share with you just like they did that night. So come on up, guys.
Bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, he is with you. Amen. 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 The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you.
Hey, I'm Malia. I'm on the dental team, and the experience here has just been so insane. The other day we got to drill on pre-extracted teeth, and now we're doing it on real people. So I just drilled out a cavity, and now Logan is drilling out a cavity, so exciting. Working with Dr. Gamber has been so fun. He's really here to help us learn, and he gets us to do hands-on things, and it's been really fun and exciting.
Hi, I'm Scott Denny. We're here with one of our mobile health clinics here in Kenya. I've so enjoyed working with the students from SVA and watching them explore their own future, recognizing, hey, medicine may be something that I want to do, or hey, I really love this population. Just seeing the exposure to working with people that are vastly different from they are, with vastly different experiences, and yet finding commonalities that they can connect with and move forward with, and helping them. Learning that they can be servants to all has been a wonderful experience for me.
Hi, my name is Angel, and I got to come to Africa. I'm an OB nurse and lactation consultant, and I got to come and help some moms. We've gotten to see babies deliver. I've gotten to help moms learn to breastfeed their babies, and it's just been amazing.
I've learned different types of drugs, what they're used for. It's very interesting to read the diagnosis on the cards once the doctors give them to us. It's just been a really informative and enjoyable time.
No, not yet.
What a beautiful sight. And then we have to do all that now.
Yeah, baby! Where'd that come from? Jambo bwana, habari gani? Nzuri sana. Wageni wakaribishwa Kenya yetu. Hakuna matata.
All week I've been part of Construction Clinic. What we're building here is the new maternity center. That way is going to be classrooms and ultrasound. This way is going to be 8 different rooms for moms to stay in before and after their birth, as well as 2 bathrooms and then a classroom at the end. And then this way is going to be a 2-story tower where they will have the more surgical or maternity ward. And on the 2nd floor is going to be temporary housing for doctors and nurses who want to come and stay for anywhere from 2 to 3 months. And so that's a good thing that they have now needed this space. And the kids have all been great. Construction is really hard, but they've stuck with it. It's hard to see what we've done, but we have helped them with the crew.
And then with the kids, they're fantastic. I mean, the young people really coming in here, getting their hands dirty. We're all tired and sweaty, and we're just together. It's not just the older folks and the kids. We're all together as a big family. And this has been incredible, absolutely incredible.
Look at this amazing invention here.
Want to take her home?
I saw our students and our teachers and our leaders using their spiritual gifts, and I think one of the biggest ones is just willingness. We saw our students willing to be used in whatever capacity they have. In VBS, it was just making friends with kids, holding babies, getting peed on for the first time, and powering through when we had 291 kids. And it was amazing to watch them grow and form friendships. And I think we were all just filled up. Our cups are overflowing.
He could cast out demons, set the captives free. He could heal the sick with the touch of his hand. Jesus was a miracle man.
But I think it's really hit me is just kind of the spirituality of this trip versus other trips I've been on. The things the kids have shared, the things the adults have shared have been really, really moving even for me. I think it's fitting. This is Sabbath. We're out in the country with this incredible tree. This is like God's cathedral. We're not trapped in a building. We're not trapped by our career or confines, but we're free to really experience what's important, which is fellowship and our fellowship connection with God.
It's really opened my eyes to a different side of the world.
I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day.
It's helped my faith. It's helped my belief in people.
I'm onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand.
It's been awesome being able to see patients walk out and know that we helped them and helped relieve their pain.
That I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to
It just makes me really happy to be a part of something that gives back to the community.
at me are hurled, for faith has called that joyful sound. I hear the song of saints on higher ground. So lift me up.
It's just really cool to see how fast you can learn something and how well you can help other people who really need help.
Stable and a higher plane, yeah, than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground.
it's just been really cool to see how much I've changed over this trip.
Lord, plant my feet on higher ground.
So they chased one kid. She was like, they want you to run.
Okay, we want to just kind of bring it home with a few rapid fire testimonies from a few more of our kids that worked on the teams. And so we're just going to be going Toby, Alexis, and Alina Joseph, and then the Robot girls are going to close it out for us. So come on up.
Hello. So I was on medical, do I need to be using a handheld? I was on medical team number 1, the number 1 medical team. And these pieces of paper in this plastic bag are the slips for every single patient minus 1 day that we saw. About 80% of the stuff that's written on these slips in these bags, if they were in the States, it would have been treated long before it got to the state that we were seeing them in. The other 20% is stuff like tuberculosis and typhoid, stuff that we just don't see here. We are very incredibly blessed to live where we live, that we have modern medical care, and it's accessible for the most part. If I was to go down there and punch Mr. Wilkins in the face and break his nose, he could drive 10 minutes from here and get to a hospital where he could be treated. Probably, what, 5 miles from here, closest hospital? 5 miles in southwest Kenya takes like 2 hours. It's a lot harder to even get treatment for small stuff, and that's if they can afford it and if they can get there. So this entire trip just really made me think that when I have small things that are inconveniencing me, it's really just that, an inconvenience. Because these people on the other side of the world, their infant mortality rate is 4 times higher than it is here. That's a lot times higher. And it just really made me think about how blessed I am.
Good morning. I was on the construction team while we were in Kenya, and for me, I had a very specific reason as to why I chose construction. I chose construction because in 2014, I went to the Dominican Republic on a mission trip, and then 2015, I went to Panama, and my grandma took me on those. And then I was too young to do construction, but I was like, okay, if I ever get the chance to go on a mission trip again, I'm doing construction. And then in 2020, when we were going to Peru, I was on the construction team, but unfortunately that got canceled due to COVID. So come 2022, I'm like, all right, I'm doing construction. So we get to Kenya, I'm on the construction team, and we just start working. And you know, after a while, shoveling and nailing can become pretty mindless and you don't think about it, and it gets tiring. And I didn't think about the impact that we were making out there in the moment. And then, so when we got back to the States, I was thinking, and I was like, wow, we started putting the roof on a building for a kitchen and a dining hall. The current kitchen they're cooking in for 160 kids that live at this school is a shack with a tin roof. And the people there do this stuff. They do it and they have so much drive and so much grit. And like Toby said, we complain at small inconveniences, and these people out there power through this stuff with smiles on their faces. And then our second construction project, the women's clinic. It's so amazing to me to know that we were building something where women are now get to learn how to properly care for their children. They're gonna be able to give birth in sterile facilities with doctors, and they're gonna stay there and they're gonna have the treatment that they need, and that's so powerful to me. And you know what just puts the cherry on top of all of this for me is my grandma, who took me on those mission trips all those years ago, would be proud to see what we're all doing now. So thank you.
It is, it's up here. Good morning, church. It's like show and tell. So I had the opportunity to serve on the water filter team. And is there anything more basic as far as our needs in life than having clean water? And unfortunately, the people of Southwest Kenya do not have that privilege. This was our team. This was day one, getting ready to go out. We had drilled all the holes. You see us getting in these Land Rovers. We're heading out to deliver clean water to people. This, it may not look like it, but this would be considered a village. It's really a field in the middle of nowhere with some trees, but they know, and amazingly enough, almost everybody there has a cell phone. And so we would land in a spot that was pre-designated by the translators and drivers that we worked with. And then texts would go out and people would run. They would send their kids, miles back to go tell everybody that we're here. We would sit around and wait for about an hour for people to come to this particular location. And then we would start an education. So we would sit them all down, explain to them how the filter works. Incredibly simple. It's literally a tube with a filter with charcoal and different things in the middle of it, and clean water comes out on the other side. So this is the water that they're drinking. Not because they don't know that dirty water is going to make them sick, but they don't have any other option. This is what's available. And so kids will walk miles to a pond where the cows are standing in it. They're drinking water too, and they're scooping up water and walking back to their house and using this to drink and to cook with. And I can't tell you, if you can see, if you really zoom in on the people's faces, how their eyes light up when they see clean, clear water for the first time. They don't know that water you can see through. That's just not a thing. And it's amazingly rewarding to be able to know that each of the filters that we were giving out, we gave out 469, you'll see how many people that actually impacts, that they're going to have clean water if this is properly used for the next 10 years. So what we did is, once we showed them how it worked, they had to physically show us that they knew how to clean it so that they could maintain it properly. And so water turns from brown to clean. And then we would line up and take their information, ask them questions about, are they sick? Are they having any symptoms currently? How many people are going to use the filter? Because now we have technology and we can track where these filters are. We can go back and follow up with them. We can keep track of how many filters are being used. So this is us doing the work of God in spreading clean water. Then at the end, we would take their picture, send them on their way, enter the information into the app so you can see this is 469 filters that we gave out. Each of them has multiple people in a family. That's 5,100 people that have clean water just from the 5 days that we were there. Amazing. And then you can see on the map, the green are the places where we actually brought filters, so we know where they were. And then the yellow, people can follow up weeks afterwards to make sure that they're still being used appropriately, that they're still clean. So 2 quick little testimonies about the experience there, maybe not as dramatic as Alfred's story, but one was just the miracle that we could actually get the filters delivered. We had some struggles in the first couple of days, and in the first 2 days that we were there, we only had distributed just under 100 filters, and we had 469 to distribute. So we were a little discouraged, thinking, I don't know how we're going to get through this. We were learning how to use the app, learning how to be efficient in trying to get all this information. They do not speak English. We're only using 4 translators. And so by Wednesday, we were a little discouraged, thinking, I don't know if we're even going to get these all distributed. And Wednesday was a miracle day, and that in the first 2 days, we didn't distribute more than 100 total, so like 50 a day. On Wednesday, we distributed 221. How we did it, I don't know, but we did learn that you didn't have to be using the Wi-Fi, and so we could use all of the phones that we had every translator that we had in order to put the most information in, which was a miracle. The second one was the last day, on Friday. So at this point, we have distributed every filter we have, which is heartbreaking, because you go by people who are going, what about me? What about me? And we don't have any left. But we spent the afternoon, about 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon, looking for any filters that had been distributed before, 4 years ago, when they were on the trip. And we rounded up one bucket. Didn't have a filter attached. It was just a bucket. I had some spare pieces that we had been given in order to repair any of the ones that were old and falling apart. And I had a filter that didn't have a lid to it, which honestly would be worthless, because if you can't keep it sterile, if you can't keep it clean, it's not going to do any good. I happened to have 2 water bottles with me from the camp where we were staying, and I said, I don't know, give it a try. Screwed it on there. It fit like a glove. So if you can imagine, we're on the opposite side of the world with the millions of different sizes of water bottles and water filters. The exact one fit on these water filters to keep them sterile. So now, not only do they have another way of keeping it sterile if they lose their top, but in the packet that we gave them, there's a syringe that they have to use to back flush the filter in order to keep it clean. If they lose the filter, if it doesn't work, how are they going to clean it? There's a little blue coupling in there that also attaches to the filter, and as long as they have a water bottle that will fit it, they can backwash it. And so not only do they have a way to keep it covered, but now a secondary way to keep it clean. That's right there at the camp. So just amazing how God is working behind the scenes, giving us what we need before we even ask.
Good morning. I'm Olivia. And I'm Madeline. I'm sure most of you recognize us as members of the church and daughters of Pastor Bill. Before we say anything else, we wanted to thank you all for the help that was provided in order for us to go on this mission trip. Not just your financial support, which was overwhelming, but also for your prayers.
Since returning from the trip, our mom has been wanting us to get up here and share, so when she found out that Mr. Wilkins had asked us to share this morning, she was very excited.
And now here we are, with a little something prepared to share with you and to thank the people who provided this amazing opportunity for us.
So initially, Olivia was the only one who planned to go on the trip. I knew that Mr. Wilkins goes on mission trips every few years, so I figured that I might wait till I was older.
But after sending out some fundraising letters, the money started flooding in, and before I knew it, I had raised double the amount of money that was needed for one person to go on the trip.
When I found that out, I got really excited. I came up to Mr. Wilkins after school one day, maybe like 2 or 3 months before the trip would take place, and I put in my request. After a not so reassuring, I'll see what I can do, he got back to me a day or 2 later.
And soon both of us were going on the mission trip. It was an incredible experience, life-changing in many ways. I was on the water filter team, which you've just heard some about. My favorite part about being on this team was getting to interact with the kids whose parents were learning how to use the filters. We had a lot of fun teaching them games we knew, like Duck, Duck, Goose, and learning games from them. It was really meaningful to know that we were making a lasting impact on people's lives, not just by providing them with clean water, but by simply spending time with the kids. As one of the adults put it, the love we showed the kids within 1 week might be the same amount they get within a whole year.
So I was on the Vacation Bible School team, and it was really inspirational to watch how the kids, at first quite shy, started to open up and want to talk and play. But it was the same way with me. On Monday, I was still figuring out the best way to approach and talk to the kids and organize them in games and activities while listening to the instructions from adults on the VBS team. But by the end of the week, I had made so many friends that I couldn't count them all on my fingers. 2 I will never forget are Shadrach and Meshach. They weren't related, and there was no Abednego. So many other names bounced around in my head on Thursday and Friday night, as I knew that I probably would never see these kids again, but I am hopeful and I'm trying as best as I can to make sure that I'll be able to go back to Kenya and see them all again one day.
Once again, we just wanted to thank everyone who made it possible for us to experience this incredible opportunity and help support us on this journey. It was life-changing, not only for all the people we helped, but for all 75 people doing mission work on the trip. So thank you, Centerville Church.
Thank you.
Okay, church, it is time for you to get involved again. Please stand with me as we sing our closing song, Higher Ground.
Spring Valley and Darren for coming and sharing with us today. You have to go in order to have a testimony, don't you? And we appreciate you guys going and serving in Africa. And I want to remind you, church, tomorrow we're going to serve our local community. We're meeting right here at 12:30. If you want to have a testimony too, you have to go and serve. So 12:30 tomorrow, we're meeting here to go and serve our community. We'd love to have as many of you come out and be there with us. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Lord, thank you so much for being a great God. Lord, thank you for blessing this trip that went to Kenya, Lord, and for not just changing the lives of those that went to serve, but for changing lives through water, through building, Lord, through medical teams. Lord, we were able to see your fingerprints on all the different activities that took place there. Lord, I ask that for each person here that we would have those same testimonies, those opportunities to share your love and your peace with other people. We love you and thank you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.